is the greatest moment in my life.
Yo.
Hello.
Hello. How's it going? What's the sitch? What's going down in chain wrestling town?
Whoa. Roll that back a little bit there. What's the sitch?
Yeah, that's what the cool kids say, isn't it?
Is it?
No, probably not.
No.
I do that purposely to get a reaction from my kids, because when I talk like that, they roll their eyes and go, "Oh, Dad, stop it."
We'll never say that again, Charlie.
No.
We promise.
Oh, there we go then. Here we go. Oh, mate, I know we're going to get to it for the wrestling bit part of the show, but I'm so happy that your vote won this week. I bloody love this match.
Yours was shit.
Shut up. We'll get to that shortly. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Si, a Radio Tekkers production. I am Si, and with me, as always, is the Heartbreak Kid to inappropriate party attendance. Boris, you did. We all know it. Just admit it, you piece of shit. The bulletproof plexiglass to my lazy bubba fat ass. I'm putting on so much weight, Mags. Lockdown being, taken away and we're allowed back more freedom. It hasn't changed my exercise procedure. I'm still a fat git, and I think I'm getting worse, to be fair. A podcaster that will always be honest with everybody about the parties he attends, apart from that one time when he had to throw his keys in the bowl. That stays a secret. Mrs. Mags can never know. The podfather himself, Lord Magsy. How are we doing this week, sir?
The only reason that part is kept a secret is because Mrs. Mags picked my keys out and I was incredibly disappointed. Anyway, yeah,
Whoa.
Today is my Christmas Day, transfer deadline day.
Yes, it's indeed
the best day in the football calendar for me, and it's been doubled up by the ridiculousness that's been happening in the Houses of Parliament today, with Boris denying that there was ever parties, but yet he was being investigated at being at parties. So yeah, it's been fun.
It's just nonsense, absolute nonsense. It makes me so angry. It really does. I thought at one stage, like, should we have this as a pimple dick because it was that much offensive towards me? And I thought, no, I don't want to get into this. Is supposed to be chain wrestling is effectively, I want it to be like an escape for everybody. So it's very much a case of, we talk a bit of wrestling, we have our non-wrestling topic for a bit of fun. We want it to be an escape, even an escape from football to a degree. It's a transfer deadline day today. We don't want people banging on about what's going on in the football world, because the volley's here at 5 to 11 live, 5 minutes before the window shuts, with Magsy, Matt, and all the other guys there. And the link for that show is in our pinned tweet at the top of the chat. So when we're finished, make sure you use that link or look for the volley live on Twitter and Radio Tekkers on Twitter and Magsy's Twitter and Matt Willis's Twitter at the Matt Attack UK and all those great hosts there to find and trace down where you can go and watch the volley at 5 to 11 tonight, 5 minutes before the window shuts, so everyone will get their football and their deadline day information there. I want this to be an escape from all that sort of stuff. But the fact that you've brought up Boris Johnson has just riled me, Magsy. It's made me angry.
I don't blame you. I do not blame you. And it's going to be a very impromptu.
Pimple Dick alert!
Oh, a teeny weeny.
Oh, see, now I've got a lot of a rant about him, haven't I? If we played the jingle, you're forcing my hand.
No, at the end of the day, he has totally misled the British people. He's made rules that doesn't apply to him. Whether you're Conservative, whether you're Liberal, whether you're Labour, the fact is he clearly does not believe that the rules should apply to him, and it's ridiculous. We all suffered through COVID, whether you believe, whether you're an anti-vaxxer or a pro-vaxxer, or whichever way you tend to lean. The fact is, as a country, we were all subject to huge lockdowns unless you made those rules, and then it didn't really apply to you, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, people were dying. Ultimately, okay, let's break this down now, shall we? People die. And there's famous situations. For example, the famous picture of the Queen when her partner passed away. Very, very sad. And she sat there. Or this old lady. Yes, okay, she's royalty and she's this, she's that, whatever. But ultimately, she's a little old lady sat there on her own And it was so heartbreaking to see her have to say goodbye to her partner, so many years, decades, whatever, on her own. And apparently the same day there were parties in number 10.
He had an alleged invasion of cake that same day.
Mate, I'm not being funny. I never get an invasion of cake. Do you know
It sounds glorious.
If any house is going to, if any house is going to be invaded with cake, trust me, it'll be this one. And it's not happened. You've got people who, I mean, I don't know if anyone saw it, but I watched a little bit of Prime Minister's Questions this afternoon, and you had the likes of, different MPs standing up and explaining stories that have affected people from their area that they're representing. And you had people talking about how they were going to nursing homes because their grandparents or even their parents were passing away, and they had to sit outside through the night shouting through a window. Couldn't even hold this person's hand because of social distancing regulations. And fair play to those people for sticking to the rules. Honestly, you've got utmost respect, because I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if I could have done it. I'd have found it very difficult. I think I would have, because those were the rules, but I'd have found it very, very difficult and emotional, as these people would have. So fair play to these people who managed to do this. However, you've then got the audacity of the guy who will be saying, okay, here are the rules everyone's got to stick to. So these people are sticking to those rules, and yet he's doing this. And it's disgusting. People's mental health is so... I'll open up a little bit. My mental health has been destroyed.
And it wasn't that good to begin with.
Well, no, exactly. I lost my job through COVID. The whole place shut down. And I've not really known what I'm doing since. And that was 2 years ago. Yeah. And I've really struggled. I'm not going to go into details here. I imagine those a little bit, but I'm not going to go into details here with everyone else, because that's not the show that we want to be conducting. But I look at the struggles that just my family and people I know have had. And I think, you fucking arsehole. And not just him, because it's very easy to point the finger at Boris Johnson and say, you mophead piece of shit. You're a pimple dick. This is fucking disgraceful, your behaviour. It's not just him. There are other... You can't party on your own. There are other people in that room. There are other people who went to these parties, other people who have defended Boris Johnson, including today, standing up in Parliament, the standard old fuddy-duddies with a bad dandruff on their shitty Primark suits, ranting and raving into the magazine, into the microphone, shouting about how, let's defend him because he did well with Brexit, let's defend him because he actually rolled out yeah, okay, sound. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about the fact that you broke your own rules. While there are people who can't afford to buy their own food whilst you're living in, effective luxury with your expensive bottles of whiskey that you share around all your mates, laughing and joking, and let the bodies pile high comment comes out at some point. You're a fucking piece of shit, and you're an absolute pimple dick, and you're an absolute disgrace to the nation.
Yeah, and for extra context, if you get a minute, go and check out the Nadine Dorries interview from this afternoon. I think it was on RTV. She is pissed. And I don't mean angry, I mean drunk, whilst on the interview, and she's there bootlicking Boris Johnson. It's ridiculous. But as Sarah said, this is a break away from the horrific laugh that we're having to leave here in the UK. We want to give you a bit of a piece from that. So yeah, we will certainly make that short, leave it at that, and let's get on with the show. So
brilliant shout, Magsy, brilliant shout. I mean, to change the tone, we're talking about something here that's an absolute shambles, an absolute disgrace in the person who's supposedly leading our country. Should we have a look at a couple of things in the past that were also a bit of a shambles, a bit of a disgrace, but in the wrestling world?
You can, and I totally forgot to load up the video, so I need to quickly find it.
So I'll fill for a little bit of dancing or something. Thank you very, very much to my daughter Olivia for providing the lame. Magsy, what embarrassment have you got for us this week?
Oh, I know we're meant to kind of stick to wrestlers and wrestlers gimmicks, but there's one thing that annoys me about wrestling, and it absolutely deserves to be in the Hall of Lame, and it is champions coming to the ring first.
Yes.
annoys the living piss out of me. If you are the champion of in a match, you should take priority. You should be coming out as champion. You should get that champion's prerogative. I hate when champions come to the ring first, and I even hate more when champions are already in the ring and get the jobber entrance and don't get any music. So this week, short and sharp, champions coming to the ring first.
100% on board with that, Magsy. I 100% agree with you. That definitely goes straight into the Hall of Fame. I don't understand why that happens. Sometimes when it happens, they try and explain it away by saying it's the champion's prerogative. He can choose. So I suppose you can get away. They used to say that with Shawn Michaels because he would always come out first when he was IC champion back in the early 90s. But I still don't 100% agree with it. But yeah, champions out first, mate. It pisses me off. I'm with you 100%.
It's a horrific thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Wouldn't happen in boxing.
Exactly.
You know, wouldn't happen in boxing. Pain in the ass. Anyway. I've actually got a character that I'm surprised I didn't put forward earlier in the Hall of Fame, even though it's only a couple of weeks old.
Yeah, we're only 3 weeks in.
Yeah, but this is the one that my mind always goes. Barring Max Moon, this is the one that my mind always goes to. You know, and he wasn't around for very, very long. We're talking early 1995 on an episode of Superstars. This guy debuted, and he had a pendant, or I suppose his wrestling style was quite unique. He was quite famous for trampling on people, snorting, and effectively ramming into them like some form of a big bull. Now, if people don't know what I'm talking about, I urge you at some stage, whether it's now as we're talking or after the show finishes, or even just go on the Chain Wrestling Twitter, because I always put pictures up of our entrance into the Hall of Fame each week after the show comes off air. I give you the glorious Mantor.
Wow.
Oh, this guy, my goodness. He was a fairly rounded fella with crazy face paint that sort of went from his eyebrows right the way back over his bald head. He had some sort of brown wrestling gear that was supposed to be very similar to, I suppose, effectively bull skin, bull fur, however you want to word it.
Leather.
Yeah,
not called leather.
I suppose, yeah.
It's ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
And he basically went on this little mini, I suppose, winning streak as they're trying to push him. They're trying to get this guy over. He's taking on a lot of jobbers on Superstars. That's effectively Superstars wasn't it, Magsy? It was very much a jobber-based squash match kind of thing back in the day, I guess. And he would run into them and headbutt them and trample on them and do the snorting and the raking of his foot like a bull. It was ridiculous. But that's not the main reason I'm putting this guy in. The main reason is the headgear he would wear to the ring.
It was massive. It was massive.
It was bigger than an actual bull, I swear.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where he couldn't get in the ring sometimes. He would get tangled up in the ropes and stumble and, and almost fall trying to get into the ring, or the head would fall off as he's trying to get into the ring. But he'd take it off to wrestle anyway.
He's fallen on his arse.
Oh, mate. So, yeah, there you go. I mean, he wasn't around for long because very, very quickly they realised this sucked. He was on a couple of pay-per-views, though. He was I think he was in the 95 Royal Rumble.
Oh, Jesus.
And he was involved in King of the Ring 95. I'm not sure if it was a tournament or like a pre-qualifier or something like that. But shortly after that, he sort of, Mantar went to the big, I suppose, meat shop in the sky and was done with the great wrestling butchery, I suppose, or whatever.
Meat shop, aka butchers.
Yeah, exactly. So there we go. Mantar, Hall of Fame entrant. Champions coming out first. Hall of Fame entrant. Very, very worthy class this week, Mr. Mags, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jesus Christ, Mantar. I'm surprised it hasn't been brought up before now, but yeah, two horrific picks for the Hall of Fame.
As it always is, and that's what makes me giggle. Magsy, we jumped ahead of ourselves a little bit with me ranting about politics, which I'm not very politically minded either. I'm not someone who would openly discuss politics with loads of people. Just got pissed off about it today. That's all. And then we obviously had a look at our Hall of Fame. Do you want to have a quick scan through the chat and see who's joined us and what we're saying before we get to our non-wrestling topic this week?
Let's do it, sir. So first of all, these guys absolutely amazing as always. We're actually having a little bit of a chin wag before we even were anywhere close to going live. But Chris Bellis first in the chat, and I actually wanted to single his comment out because he and someone else in the CDF, Scottish Danny, started dropping their episodes of One Man's Meat this past week, and it was brilliant. Loved it.
Yeah.
Such a fun episode. Really, really enjoyed it, and I can't wait for how this podcast goes down. And again, to kind of double down, and I've made a point of not commenting on Twitter. Usually when a podcast drops, I'll kind of like give my views on Twitter, how much I enjoyed it and stuff like that. I've specifically avoided mentioning Nat or Nat on purpose because I knew that you would be here, obviously, and I knew that Danny would be in the chat sometime. Or
I just thought you hadn't listened.
I absolutely listened on the moment it dropped, and again, I really, really enjoyed it. It was it's obviously people who haven't listened to it yet, definitely go and check it out. It's on Radio Tekkers or on Vision News Global Media. It's a kind of a similar format to A Changing Attitude, but the way you two approach it is so different and refreshing. I really enjoyed how you're essentially taking Danny down on this journey through the good and the bad of the natural. Really fresh, entertaining, and a cool little sister kind of show to A Changing Attitude. Yeah, it was a top draw, and I hope it does really, really well. So definitely all go and check them two podcasts out.
Oh, I appreciate that, mate. Honestly, that really does mean a huge amount, especially coming from you. I really appreciate it. So yeah, I'd love if everyone else gives it a listen and let's us know what you think as well. Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much.
No problem. No problem at all. So also in the chat, Mr. Matt Willis, I think he's on podcast. Can't really remember any of them that have dropped. I know he's on Good Cop, Worst Cop, something like that. Definitely go and check that out. But I'll be speaking with him later on with the Volley. Dan Griffin, another person on a podcast. This week's episode of UTT is absolutely phenomenal. They don't even cover wrestling this week. They cover family fortunes, and it's bloody brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. Mrs. P in the chat. It's Monday night. You know what that means. And young Charlie as well in the chat. Chris Bellis with the nicknames. Now, if you have listened to the intro for One Man's Meat, Chris's nickname, I think he's Big Meaty Cool. And then Danny is the meat guy, but he laid Daddy Dan and Daddy Rob as the names of Rob and Dan from the UTT podcast. And those nicknames will forever be ingrained in my mind now. So Dan will always be referred to by me as Daddy Dan. It's amazing. And he doubles down because he says he'll never get used to be calling that. Scottish Danny here in the chat as well. So yeah, like I said, Danny, you've absolutely knocked out of the park with these two new podcasts. Just if you try and ditch A Changing Attitude, sir, I will hunt you down.
I can't see that ever happening, mate. I can't see that ever happening.
Benny Mac, oh look, it's that one guy from that Doctor Who pod.
That's true, yeah. It comes out tomorrow. Episode 1 comes out tomorrow. A long wait because of COVID and all sorts of other stuff, but it comes out tomorrow. Scottish
Danny saying he's not political at all, but I'm a full-on anti-Boris. I think everybody should be an anti-Boris. If you've got any sense. Connor McCabe, hello. Always glad to have you appear in the chat, sir. Dan Griffin, going on a Boris tirade. Shithouse fired for lying multiple times. Documented as an elitist. Elitist folk is documented as being a lying elitist folk when people died. It absolutely boils my piss. Chris Bellis saying, speaking as a nurse, Boris has damaged his country since he took charge. He needs to stand up and be counted. That's not his way, though. His way is always push people out in front of him. Yep. Operation Save the Big Dog. Just remember that.
Dodge questions, all sorts.
Exactly. Matt correcting you, saying it actually wasn't Prime Minister's question time. It was just Prime Minister's reacting to the report. Oh, well, actually.
I'm glad you cleared that up because it made a massive, massive difference. Thank you.
Yeah, he takes back all his words for that. Dan Griffin, in lighter news, did anyone else hear about the scarecrow that got a medal? It was for being outstanding in its field.
Nice.
Matt Willis saying, someone give Livy a Grammy for the lame. Absolutely, it's absolutely amazing. Mags, what about an open challenges? Is that an exception? Yeah, clearly. And again, actually, I'm Matt Willis and I have to break the rules. Yeah, that obviously would be an exception, Matt. But I'm talking about in general. I've got a good feeling not rocking up to the volley today. Might actually wound me up. But there's absolutely loads, and they're all. We massively appreciate you all in the chat. Dan, Chris, Scottish Danny, Matt, all having conversation between themselves, and that's amazing. The fact that you come here and just have a chin wag, and then we'll leave it on this one. Sharon, I feel left out here. Maybe I should do a podcast. Ha ha ha. Hashtag not gonna happen.
Didn't she promise one of the Dans, I think it was Dan Griffin, that she was going to do a TNA podcast with him?
One of the Council of Dans, she certainly did.
I don't know about promise, that may be a bit extreme, but I believe it was discussed one week. But there you go, Scottish Danny in the chat. Sharon, we want an Adam Cole podcast from you. I wonder what the content would be. Let's not go down that road. That's definitely for After Dark.
And then Matt Willis puts on his monocle and top hat.
Brilliant. Yes, as stated earlier, join Matt, Magsy, Chris, and everyone else on the volley live at 10:55. Okay, Magsy, shall we get to Twitter and everywhere else and have a little look at our non-wrestling topics this week?
Yes, we shall.
Okie doke. Basically, we had a couple this week, purely because, I mean, first of all, we were looking, kind of wanted to look at facts, crazy facts, whether they were true or not. I suppose the craziest true facts you've heard, and then if you've ever been sped a load of bullshit that somebody believed was true or something like that. But then also I got a little bit inspired by my own absent-mindedness, because I text Magsy on, I think it was Saturday afternoon, and said, shit, I've forgotten to put the poll up. It's only the whole point of our whole podcast. So yes, I'd forgotten to do that. So ultimately it went up, and thankfully everyone's still voting and so on. So thank you everyone for that. That's hugely appreciated. But then that got me thinking as well. So I messaged Magsy back and goes, what about people who forget stuff or anything you've forgotten and so on, as like an extra topic as well. So yeah, and that's kind of where we ended up, Magsy, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, very forgetful, sir.
Yes, only the whole point of the show, the whole, running theme of the show.
you pulled it out of the bag with a quick 48-hour poll, and it did brilliant numbers as well, and really cool that you guys all still chipped in and voted.
Yeah, that's true. Hugely appreciated, and we say it all the time. This show wouldn't work if it weren't for you. Whether it's tuning in now, listening to the audio version that comes out on a Wednesday, voting in the polls, getting involved in the non-wrestling topics. Honestly, it don't work if it's not for you lot, the CWF.
But, I mean, the original episodes were 45 minutes long. Now we routinely go Broadway.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think episode 1 was like 32 minutes or something like that.
And we padded that out.
Oh, if you listen to that one back, mate, because I had to like resave them all on it, because I keep them all, everything recorded and put away on like memory sticks and all that. I went back through it for like the anniversary episode and stuff. Some of them early recordings, mate, I'm ropey as hell. I really.
I mean, we're almost 30 episodes into the live version of Cherris, and I'm still as ropey as I've ever been.
Oh, I don't know about that, mate. I look at you for guidance. so where does that leave me?
May the Lord have mercy on your soul, then.
Oh dear. We will start, Magsy, with, I'll tell you what, we'll start with WhatsApp today. So I got a couple on WhatsApp to save you ferreting around and so on, and then we'll just jump to Twitter to finish off, okay?
Let's do
the first one we have here from WhatsApp is actually the last entry to the wrestling topic we received before we went live, from our good buddy Matt Willis. The volley live at 10:55. Everyone remember, please, transfer deadline day is going to be great. For the show, he says, there's been so many times I've forgotten something and ended up using more than one expletive. Usually I shout at myself, for fuck's sake, you stupid fucking bellend Willis. Nice.
And that's weird, because we shout that most of the time during the Tekkers group chat for totally different reasons.
Yeah, not for forgetting stuff. He says another one that stands out to him, and I will state for the record that this is bad, and I'm ashamed about this. This is exactly the stuff we want. This is the good content if you're ashamed. When I was younger and in a bad place, I actually forgot my younger sister's birthday. She didn't let me forget about it for a long time, but she did help me get into a better place, and now all is good. And it's just silly stuff I forget, like when I walk into a room and I forget why. Yeah, totally. I do that one all the time, mate.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I mean, I can't say I'm particularly forgetful. I have got one example that I will get to, one that's very close to home.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's involving you as well. So,
oh, okay.
So you clearly forgot it as well. That's brilliant. But yeah, I'm not particularly forgetful. Mrs. Maggs forgets everything, like literally all the time. She can read a book or any kind of like newspaper article or anything like that, and by the time she gets to the second page, she has to go back and reread some of the first page because she forgets what's happened.
Why? That must take her a long time to read a book.
Hence why she doesn't read a lot of books. If we watch a Netflix season, binge watch, we'll have to watch some of the original season to catch up for the second season because she forgot what's happened in the first season.
I get you. See, that's why I like to watch it. We talk about it all the time with TV now, don't we? But I like to binge the whole lot in like over a few days because then I don't forget. Yeah.
And that's what's annoying me currently about Snowpiercer. On Netflix, they're releasing the episodes once a week, and I'm not up for that.
Once a week? What is this? The freaking Dark Ages, the 90s? Come on.
Exactly. It's annoying.
What's annoying me is the new season of Ozark is out. I've been looking forward to it for ages. It was delayed because of COVID, and now I've got to like look back. Well, I was going to have to look back on the previous series to remind myself when I go into the new series, but I don't have to do that now because our good friend Connor Knows Stuff is doing a recap of Ozark episode by episode.
Cool.
So, and it's great, nice little bite-sized episodes, quickly redressing what's going on. The new series has started, but I'm going to listen to what Connor's got to say before I start the new series. So yeah, keep it up, Connor. It's great stuff, my friend. Keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple more from Twitter, not Twitter, WhatsApp here, and they're both from my daughters. Actually, I messaged them both.
Even forgot what app. Look at that!
I'm staring. It's right here. I'm staring at it right now. You know, Charlie says, "I don't know if it's crazy or false, but my RE teacher was talking about how Eve was made from one of Adam's ribs, and he said that's why boys have one less rib than girls."
Okay. I mean, that is the story in the Bible that Eve was made of the rib of man.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go then. So I suppose it's true if you believe the Bible, Charlie. There you go.
So untrue.
Oh, let's not make.
Oh, false. Whatever you believe.
I'm not massively religious myself, but it's up to anyone out there. You can make your own minds up.
That's a kettle of worms I am not diving into.
Yeah, it was bad enough talking Boris. We ain't gonna go down that road. Livy, my other daughter, who has messaged here, she says she forgot her ruler once going to school. Now, I don't know if I've covered this on the podcast before, but my daughter's school is like some sort of military operation. You've got to have a see-through pencil case with the exact kit list and so on, and it's really particular and to the point where I think it's ridiculous, but the rules are the rules, I guess. Livy forgot her ruler, and because of that, just forgetting her ruler for one day, she had an hour after school detention.
What? That's ridiculous.
And that's how the school operates, mate. You forget one of these items that you need, you're in detention.
Jesus.
Yeah, if you haven't got your pen or you haven't got a pencil or anything like that, yeah, it's all like that.
Wow.
Yep, so much to it, mate. So much to it. Livy continues with regards to crazy facts. Duck quacks doesn't echo. Hot water will turn into ice quicker than cold water, apparently.
Yep, I believe so.
Okay, I didn't know that. And this one tickles me, and I can remember her laughing as she was downstairs and typing it out. Liv says, people who suffer from boanthropy believe they are a cow and will try to live their life as a cow. It's like Mantar.
You see, this show, it's got levels. It all rolls into one convoluted storyline.
So good, aren't we? We're professionals at this. We really are. There's a quick note here that I want to shout out Dan Griffin in the chat. I agree. Sometimes live school is bullshit. I think sometimes they need to ease the rules a little bit, yes, but at the same time, my girls are doing good at school, so I suppose I can't, criticize them too much. But yeah, sometimes they need to be a little bit looser with some of the regulations, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of Dan, at StanGriffin21 on Twitter, I'm just going to run through these in the order they came into us now. We have here, when he was a student, he forgot he'd picked up an extra shift at his old job. Went out, sank 4 or 5 points. Before he remembered he had to go to work and try and be sober for the close down. Managed it, but he's not really sure how. And he once also got so drunk he forgot his own address.
I mean, the majority of Dan's stories involve him being absolutely paralytic. I'm concerned for him and his liver.
Yeah, but then it's that whole that's sort of, I suppose, famous quote or famous meme or whatever it is, isn't it? No good story started with "I had a salad or a glass of water."
I mean, that's very, very true.
MGB Graham at MGB Graham on Twitter. He DM'd me this one, Magsy, so don't worry about trying to find it. He sent me a DM because I guess restrictions on characters and so on. He says here, while I was starting to leave a petrol station after filling up on spring break with my then girlfriend, who is now his wife, he drove off without her. He had only completed.
He didn't. This is not a forgetting. This is a confession.
Yeah, he only completed 50 feet without her, but if you were to ask her, it was like he'd left the whole state.
Wow, he did a David Cameron and just left her milling around the restaurant. Wow, that's
amazing. I've got a similar story, but about an ex-girlfriend that maybe we'll get to in a bit. Whilst returning to the USA from Mexico, he got through the first section of security, and upon reaching the second section, he realized he didn't have his passport. He went back to the first section, and it was where on the surface where he had just been. He'd forgotten to pick it up and take it to the next stage with him. You cannot imagine how much of a headache this would have been if it had not been there on my return a few minutes later. Now, I've never been abroad, been to an airport, been through customs or anything like that. But I'm guessing, I've seen it on the television. I've heard lots of people talk about it. I'm assuming that if you haven't got your passport, it's a bit tricky.
Yep. And in a similar vein, another Mrs. Mag story. We were once getting ready to go to Turkey, bought all the holiday money. She had it all in her purse. We nipped to a local shopping centre, pick up a few supplies. She left her purse in the shopping centre. We got home. Then she started to say, "Have you seen my purse? Where is it?" We're like, "No, please, God, no." Because she literally had like thousands of lira in this purse.
Why?
Went back to the shopping centre and someone had handed the purse in. Now, your first thought is they've dipped all that money out first and then handed in. Not a single solitary note was missing. Not a single one. We were so damn lucky that day.
That is amazing. That is truly amazing. Yeah, that is. Good Cop, Bad Cop Wrestling Podcast at Good Bad Wrestle on Twitter. First fact he sends here. Heard this week that Atlanta is closer to Canada than Florida. And even seeing the evidence, still having difficulty rationalizing this fact. I can't really picture that in my mind. I'd have to actually literally have the map in front of me to see that. So,
again, same. America's such a vast landmass that, I couldn't pick Atlanta on a map in the first place unless it pointed out to me. So,
I'd have a go at the rough area, but again, it's like, pretty hit and miss. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And secondly, they say, the one I like to use in maths class, if you could fold a piece of paper in half 42 times, it would reach the moon.
It just, I get that it's plausible, but it just doesn't seem true at all. If you take the thickness of a piece of paper and measure that 42 times, then it doesn't seem like it will. But you're talking about that all the extra layers folding in on each other. It's 42. 40. It's such a small number to reach such a long distance. Yeah,
it's a bit. Yeah, I mean, I'm not anyone to doubt. I've got no reason to doubt what you're saying, but it does seem a bit crazy, to be fair.
I do remember watching a Mythbusters episode where I think the myth was that you could only fold a piece of paper like 7 times before the crease becomes too hard to fold. And they managed doing it with a piece of paper the size of a warehouse floor, and they managed to fold it like 9 times. But it was really thick, like really. They had to use essentially a forklift with a pallet on top to press down on it.
Yeah, I suppose that's the principle, though, isn't it? If you could fold it 42 times, it'd be that tall.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
So how big does that bit of paper need? Oh,
yeah,
that'd be a massive piece of paper.
It would have to be.
Oh, there you go, Graham. If you're listening for next week, this is your homework. Then, okay? We want to know how big a piece of paper we need to fold 42 times to reach the moon.
Yeah.
It's really important that we hear this.
And if you don't bring the homework, it's instant F. Yeah, and you, as a maths teacher, do not want to fail, sir.
No,
go on your permanent record.
A couple of quick things in the chat I want to grab there, Magsy, if I can. Matt Willis there asking, did I say Atlanta or Alaska? I said Atlanta, Matt. Sorry, I probably sort of slurred my words or something. I don't speak very clearly at times. I apologize for that. And Sharon here saying she likes the girls' school. If she's honest, if you can't follow the rules, go to a different school. And that's true. Perfectly true. You know, some of it is very, very strict, but the reason that the people who run this school now have been brought in to take over is because there were problems in the past, and they're now all the results they're getting show that what they're doing works. It's just frustrating when your kids are good, they make one little error, and then you're getting a text message saying, "Oh, such and such is staying behind at school for an hour, so you got to send them bus fare to get on the bus home because they can't get a lift," and just all that nonsense because they've forgotten a bloody pen or some crap.
Maybe a 3-strike rule could come in, like you forgot your ruler. You forgot your ruler one day, right? That's a warning. If it happens again, detention. Next time.
That makes sense. Yeah, there you go. Magsy for governor. There we are. Dan Griffin is back on Twitter here at Dan Griffin 21. As for facts, and this tickled me, the human anus can stretch up to 7 inches before taking damage. So just gonna leave that in there.
Your choice of words, though, that tickled you.
Yeah. Oh, no, it didn't tickle me. And it's not like I tried it. It's not like I thought, oh, do you know what, Dan? I don't believe you. I reckon I can get to 8.
I will prove you wrong.
And I got to 6.5 and it tickled and I started giggling or something. That's not quite what I meant.
Sharon, get that rolling pin. I'm proving him wrong.
That's it. And the tape measure. Yeah, as for facts, the human anus can stretch up to 7 inches before taking damage, apparently, according to Mr. Griffin. A raccoon can squeeze into holes as tight as 4 inches. Meaning you can take almost 2 full raccoons up your bum if you train enough.
If you train,
you've got to be dedicated.
You've got to make sure you go for that B-Tech in bum training.
B-Tech in bum training. Oh, that's amazing.
Dan, why do you know that? Why?
Yeah. Please tell me you've read that online and there's not.
I'm just questioning the friendship I have with Dan. I'm really questioning it.
I wonder if there's just like a long line of raccoon carcasses outside his bedroom door. Where he's hit that 7 inches and just keeps trying to, I will break this record. I will be in the Guinness World Records book.
And he also adds, you've also got to train the raccoons as well.
Well, yeah, it's funny that we didn't even think of that. It's funny that Arthur has thought straight away was bum training. You got to train the raccoons, of course you have. Yeah.
I mean, which do you train first, or do you train the bum, or do you train the raccoons?
I'd say you've got to train the bum, because if you train the raccoons first, you might get the raccoons to go where you want them to go, but you haven't trained your bum to sort of receive them yet. Do you know what I mean? So I think you've got to train your bum first before you train the raccoons. Otherwise, there's nowhere for them to go for their training.
I suppose that's a good point. And also, if you try and force a raccoon in a hole that hasn't been stretched enough, they're probably going to bite you. So you want to avoid obviously getting bit on the anus by a raccoon. I mean, that's a life mantra if I've ever heard it. Yeah.
I think we've maybe sort of taken a bit of a detour from what we were talking about there, Maxie.
Let's quickly move on.
Anyway, at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter, Colin McAldy, the middleweight champion of all of Kent here, Scottish Danny himself. He says, and it's quite funny I say all that, I hear crazy reoccurring rumours that I'm not actually Scottish. It's a gimmick. My name's Colin, and I shop in Aldi, and I'm from Maidstone, Kent. I don't see.
So
any...
that's an admittance. That sounds like an admittance.
I don't. He says he hears crazy rumors, but he doesn't deny them.
No, there wasn't a party apparently, according to Scottish jugger law.
Yes, there you go. There you go. I bet he was there with Boris, showing up in the middleweight. I bet
He
Boris
invaded
like,
with the cake.
Yeah, I bet
From
Boris
Aldi.
like...
It was a Colin the Caterpillar cake from Aldi, and Dan invaded. Brilliant.
I bet Boris is like a proper Colin McAldy mark and wanted him to turn up with his middleweight championship to this party just to show off to his mates. You know?
Yep.
Danny
so
also said,
rumbled, Danny. You have been
we all
rumbled.
Danny also says these rumors about him are as ludicrous as the rumor that Bang Bang podcast Andy only bathes once a week when Chain Wrestling Live is on.
I mean, is no hair is no real reason to bathe otherwise.
You need to wash places that haven't got hair, Mags, you know, don't you?
Well, dear.
Just a baby wipe and a bit of spray and you're good to go.
Baby wipe and then flush down the loo and you're good to go.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it. I washed my hair in the loo once. Did I tell you this?
No, you didn't.
Right, okay. We've got like a walk-in shower, it's like a wet room sort of thing, right?
Okay.
That the council installed for us when they had the bath took out and we wanted a shower. For some reason, they just turned it into a wet room, and it's been nothing but trouble. It leaks all the time, and it pisses through the ceiling into the kitchen. So, you know, if someone has a shower, you can be stood there making, you know, a bit of beans on toast, and all of a sudden there's bloody shower water pissing on the floor next to it. It's a nightmare, and it's been like this for years.
Why have you not made the best of a bad situation and install a shower cubicle underneath, so 2 showers at once?
I'll tell you what, that's a bloody good idea.
That's a really good idea. I actually am impressed with myself there.
That's good, that is. They fixed it now, though, so I've missed the opportunity.
Go on, unfix it.
I could do. All I got to do is just turn this little pipe, because the hole that's about a yard square is still in my kitchen roof. I can still see up into the pipes in the kitchen. They haven't fixed that yet.
Wow, that's rough.
Yeah. But anyway, basically, when they came out to fix the shower, because at one stage it went from just drip, drip, drip to like pouring like a tap. We were told, like, just stop. We can't, because it was coming through by a light fitting and everything. So we had to stop using it.
Very dangerous. Yeah.
Because it was a shower that we weren't using all the time, you know, they said, oh, you don't have to use the shower. You can use the sink, apparently. And the electrician came out and made sure the electrician came out within 24 hours, because it's seen as an emergency. So they checked the electrics, the water was going past, and they said that was safe. So then fixing the leak became a non-emergency, which then left us without a shower for several days, maybe a week. I don't know the exact time frame, but it was a while.
Councils, my God. Arseholes.
So I started thinking, okay, well, and me and our Livs, we both got very long hair, and we're kind of getting to that stage where we need to wash our hair. This is grim now, you know, and sort of thinking, what can we do? We're going to Sharon offered to wash Sharon offered to wash Livy's hair in the sink downstairs best she could and all that. And I was like, well, the shower head isn't what's broken. It's the floor that's broken. So if the shower head will reach to the sink, we can wash your hair in the sink. But then, of course, the shower head's nowhere near the sink. It's not going to work. So then when I'm stood there looking at it, I'm thinking, okay, that's not going to work. And then right in front of me is the toilet. And I'm thinking, well, it's not like it's, you know, I'm going to flush it beforehand, obviously. It's not like there's going to be something in the toilet that's a bit grim. There's going to be no floaters or whatever. But I'm thinking, I could stand over the toilet, get all my hair out and drapes it over the front, and wash my hair into the toilet so it doesn't leak downstairs. And I thought, this is a fantastic idea. I've really come out of a cheat, a go around this issue now, right? So there we go. I stripped off down to my waist, and I tried to put my hair over my head, wet it and all that, get the shampoo, put the shampoo on, it all foams up, and I get the shower head, turn it onto like the real fast blasting job. So I'm thinking I want to just blast it down the toilet, yeah? The issue I've got is I can't see what I'm doing. So I stopped talking, Matt Willis says in the chat. No, I can't. I got to get to the end of this story now. So I'm knelt over the toilet trying to wash this foam out of my hair with a shower head, right? But I can't see what I'm doing because there's water and foam everywhere. And then basically when I stand up, I realize that I've had my hair probably about, I don't know, that much if you can see on the camera. So to those in the audio version, what would that be, Magsy? 4 or 5 inches, I guess, something like
Get Charlotte to go and get a ruler.
that. Yeah, she can. That's at school.
Can measure.
But yeah, and I've stood up, and basically it's a mess. I've destroyed the bathroom. All of the toilet rolls down the side of the spare, they're soaked. They are ruined because I've just like got water everywhere. There's foam. It's like the end of Marshmallows. End of Marshmallows. It's like the end of Ghostbusters when the marshmallow man explodes. There's foam everywhere in the bathroom, right? My hair is just so manky and rank, and it's been dipped several inches into the toilet. So I went downstairs and said to Liv, "Yeah, it's not a good idea, mate. Don't do that."
I predict you looked around the room like, and just went, close the door, away I go.
Yeah. Open the window a little bit, shut the door, and just went down the shop.
And then when someone discovered it, go, "You have got to take this bullet for me. Your mum is going to go mad, and I'm not the one taking the blame. Which one of you all wants to earn £1?"
Liver is a £5. £1? That don't do nothing in my house, mate.
You did miss a trick though, and again, I'm going to come to your aid with a brilliant idea. Why didn't you just stand in the toilet bowl and let the water cascade? So you could have had a full shower, just you stood in the toilet bowl.
Yeah, but I would have hurt myself, wouldn't I? Because you think the toilet bowl sort of shaped like that goes down to this like narrow bit. I'm not going to get both my fat feet and my fat ankles in that bit, am I? So I'm going to end up wobbling like this and just topple over,
And then you would need to have made sure you flush, because last thing you want is some floaters in between your toenails.
Yeah, nobody wants turd toes, do they?
let's quickly move on.
So we're getting sidetracked again. We got to be off air by 5 to 11, mate. Stop distracting me. Come on. At Dan Griffin here again with some fantastic facts that I actually told Livy before we went live, and she thought these were amazing. The average fart travels at 6.8 miles an hour, which is, I suppose, is quite an achievement, for a body propelling something, I guess.
I mean, who measures these, though?
How do you measure? It's like the ping pong ball on the table sort of thing. You just sort of perch a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, but surely you'd need an article in that fart to be measurable. So you'd need a dingleberry, wouldn't you? A clinker to come loose and fire across the room.
That wouldn't work, because you'd struggle to get for that to work as an experiment. You need like the baseline. So that clinker, that little hanger on, would have to be exactly the same size every time. So are you getting these people and to get the average using the same bit of poo and just sticking it to different people's bums? That's the only way. It's gross, I know, but that's the only way that experiment would work.
I mean, the only other way is if you got somebody at a certain distance and then timed when they could smell it, and then kind of like extrapolate that distance over like miles per hour and work it out that way.
Yeah, make sure everyone eats the same thing the night before, that sort of thing.
No, test different things. So would a curry fart travel quicker than, say, a coffee fart or a vegetable fart?
Interesting.
I feel Matt actually is pulling it out again. You can test via moisture, because that's what makes the sound. Oh, Matt. I feel you may have tested this theory.
Interesting, though. Interesting. The oldest known joke is an ancient Sumerian fart joke that dates back to 1900 BC. What the Sumerians?
Knows a lot. They're a group of ancient people that date back to around the 1900 BC, I think.
Oh, okay. Cheers, mate. The average human farts between 13 and 21 times a day. Now, that's easy to monitor because you've got to count.
Yeah, and you're clearly above average.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I am. Yeah, definitely. 100%, mate. But that goes without saying.
I'm finally above average.
Yeah, on something. I'm above average at something. Dan continues, and this one's a little bit, I suppose, creepy, I guess. The CPR dummy face template is based on a dead 16-year-old girl. Her body was pulled from the River Seine I think that says, in the
Paris.
1880s. And a mortician was so entranced by her peaceful expression that he made a plaster mask of her, which became the face of CPR dummies and other health equipment.
Now,
That's
grim.
eerie. Yeah.
Yeah. And kind of weirdly concerning, because when I did first aid training for work, the CPR dummy that we trained on was a bloke. So she must have had a bloke's hairdo and facial features.
No, it just means the face, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it didn't have the look of a 16-year-old girl. It had the look of a middle-aged bloke.
That disappoint you?
It does not. Well, I plead the fifth on that one.
Yeah, I mean, that is quite bad, isn't it? The fact that this person, this individual
The
here, the
wording,
mortician, was
entranced
by her peaceful expression of this 16-year-old dead body. That's, oh dear me.
Yeah, that's pretty grim. Thanks for that, Dan.
It does come to something when
Stick to the fart facts.
We're talking about we're talking about putting different clinkers up different people's bums and various rodents and how many.
Dan has to go and ruin the mood of the show.
Yeah, and that's the worst thing we get.
Entranced dead bodies.
Oh dear. Steve-O on Twitter at Total Steve-O. He says here, not crazy, but recently with the cold weather, was -4 at 3 a.m. and he was freezing. He asked his mate how cold it was in Canada when he went snowboarding. His mate said it was -30. Now I can't even comprehend that level of cold. I cannot get my head around that.
That's pretty nippy.
Pretty nippy. Do you reckon?
You would have to live in that environment to be able to cope, because if that was me, I'd be frozen. I'd be literally frozen. It'd be horrific.
He then says, Steve-O, he continues that his mate then told him, in Russia, it can get to -50 and you can throw boiling water in the air and it would freeze.
Yeah, I've seen that. It comes out like snow. Yeah, they throw buckets in Russian. There's a video on YouTube where it's a Russian kind of tower block, and they throw a bucket of boiling hot water out of the window and it falls like snow. So it kind of links into the fact you mentioned earlier about hot water being able to freeze quicker than cold water.
That's insane.
I think it's something to do with the excited electrons, and it's is it called hyper freezing or something like that, or sublimation, something like that. There is a name for why a liquid will freeze so quickly. But yeah, it's amazing to watch. Go watch it after you finish the show.
I'm going
and look it up. It's really
so it turns into
eerie.
You say it turns into snow.
Essentially snow, yeah.
Because in my head, I pictured
Mortal Kombat. You're picturing Mortal Kombat, aren't you? Where it throws a bucket of water and it freezes into like an ass spear.
Yeah, like the slosh in the air freezes like that. Does it do that?
Like still attached to the bucket. No, it's not a cartoon. This is real life, sir.
Okay, so it doesn't freeze then. It does it.
Yeah,
does that actually
freeze?
Is snow like proper frozen water then? Is it?
Move on.
All right.
It's snow frozen water.
Well, I thought it's to do with like moisture in the air and shit.
And what's the moisture in the air made of?
Yeah, okay. All right, I see your point. What's my wife saying in the chat there? If I didn't live with him, sometimes I think Simon lives under a rock. What the fuck, Simon? Thanks, Lev. Love you too.
Brilliant.
Steve-O continues here. He says, I know Magsy will have loads, but I always can't get my head around there's more stars in the sky than there are grains of sand on Earth. And again, that's the same as me trying to comprehend -50 temperatures and stuff.
Yeah,
I can't even just begin to figure it out.
It's baffling. It's absolutely baffling. And I remember when there was an image from the Hubble telescope, and it shows all these kind of galaxies all over this picture. And Brian Cox, he says, if you look at a certain section of this picture, and to the human eye, it looks black, like it's empty. but then they refocused on it with the latest space telescope, and that tiny little section, like less than a millimeter across, had thousands of galaxies in it. It's just that they were so far away that the light Hubble couldn't even pick up the light, but this new telescope is able to essentially pick up light from the very beginning of the Big Bang, and there is no dark patches in space. Essentially, it's just a beacon of masses of light.
Why? It's insane, absolutely crazy. I can't even begin to try and comprehend that. It just,
And for everybody who says there's no such thing as aliens, it's got to be mathematically impossible that we are the only planet in the only universe able to sustain life. It's got to be impossible.
Yeah, just by the percentage of it, by the percentage chance of how, and the only living things in the whole of the worldwide universe, the whole expanse that is us fucking wasters. Come on. Do you know what I mean?
And we're using that time wisely with a ridiculous podcast that pretends to be about wrestling.
We are a wrestling show.
Exactly.
Oh, dear me. Dan Griffin there. The vastness of the universe is incredible and kind of terrifying. It is. And yeah, I can't even start to think about it.
That's a profound statement for Dan, because he also said this. In 2016, a man in Germany farted at police when asked for ID, and he was fined €900 in what is known as the Crazy Toot trial.
Amazing. Brilliant. I fart in your general direction. That was off, what was that from? Holy Grail. Yeah. Let's continue with Twitter then. Rob from the excellent UTT podcast, of our good buddy Dan Griffin there, at UTT Rob on Twitter. He says, I forgot where I parked at the White Rose Centre once. They had to get, I assume that is, I'm guessing that's a
I hope it's wrong. I hope they did have to bet a security guard.
That the security guard could find it or not? Yeah.
On a moped.
They had to bet a security guard on a moped to weave all around the car parks looking for it. So what do you reckon? They were like saying, okay, 20 quid, you can't find my car.
20 quid, he's not even parked in this car park.
And he follows up by saying, the peanut is closer to being a pea than it is a nut.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work?
So if you look at a pea, you tend to see the germ, which is the bit that grows, is on the outside. If you've ever peeled a pea, and the nut is the same. The germ is accessible from the outside of the peanut.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense when you look at it that way. Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Steve-O also says here, another couple of things I can't get my head around. Deborah and Stone Cold Steve Austin were married, and Brock Lesnar is married to Sable. I suppose.
Yeah. They're not as amazing as some of the ones that we've had, but yeah, they are quite outlandish. I mean, Sable must be, 70 now?
70?
she must be like a human skeleton, because Brock's like, 45?
Yeah, Sable's 10. She must be 10 years older than him. Must be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Deborah was married to a few, though, wasn't she? She was originally with Mongo McMichael from WCW, wasn't she? And then wasn't she involved with somebody else as well as Austin?
There was always rumors about Jeff Jarrett. I don't know if that was entirely true, but yeah, allegedly, she's been passed around the boys like a bag of toffees.
Oh, dude. At MillwallChris1 on Twitter, and this one interests me greatly. He says he heard that the world record for sticking marshmallows up one single nostril is 604, and it's currently held by an American.
Now that can't be true, surely.
I can't see how 6 in your nostril. If somebody said 604 in your gob, right? Somebody said 604 marshmallows in your mouth, I'd find that hard to believe.
Yes, because I've done the marshmallows in your mouth challenge before on a holiday camp. And I think we got to around 40 and it was getting uncomfortable. 604 up the snot box.
Unless
it were teeny tiny ones.
Yeah, but even then, that's still, unless they were going up your nose and then down your throat into your belly.
Just eating them like
Yeah, like big snot mallows. Yeah, I mean, that's funny we mentioned that because I looked into this trying to find out about the 604, just to see if there's any pictures or video or anything. I couldn't find anything. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't look that intently. I just had a quick glance because something else popped up and distracted me, which often does. You know, it's like there's somebody jangling their keys next to me. I'm like, oh, what's that? You know, it's
so a challenge for you there, Millwall Chris, is prove your work.
We want video. That's your homework this week.
Yeah, we want you with 603 nostrils up your nose and just being disappointed that you couldn't manage that extra one.
I'll tell you what, we'll even take away the 0. If you can get 64 marshmallows up your nose,
then you deserve the record.
Yeah, exactly. You'll have the record in the Chain Wrestling Hall of Records. Anyway, like I was saying, what I did find out when I was looking into this was that there was a guy who named Paul Prado and his partner Sofia Rojas in the United States in 2012, who hold the Guinness World Record for the furthest blow of a marshmallow out of the nostril and into the mouth of the catcher.
Oh, that's grim.
So the fella...
I hope it's about a foot, and only because no one else has ever tried it since.
Nah, mate, it's more impressive than that. This fella, Paul Prado, he's ramming a marshmallow up his schnoz, right? And he's giving it the proper effort, and it's firing across, and Sofia Rojas is catching this greeny, marshmallowy booger goodness in her chops, and she is 5.4 meters away. That's 17 foot 11 inches.
That is horrific.
It's disgusting. It's absolutely grim. Catching somebody else's snot rocket.
Did she eat the marshmallow as well, or did she instantly spit it out and just regret her life choices?
I don't know. I don't say about that. I don't know. You must be able to find a video. I'm gonna have to look that up. But just put that.
And
in
I
context,
hope to God that they are married, because can you imagine if it wasn't your partner's snotty marshmallow coming into your mouth? It was just a friend or an acquaintance. Oh, it makes it 10 times worse.
I don't really think there is much.
Saying that, I wouldn't eat Mrs. Mag's. Yeah, I wouldn't eat Mrs. Mag's snotty marshmallows.
No, I wouldn't eat Sharon's snotty marshmallows. I'm pretty sure she wouldn't eat mine. Let us know in the chat, my love, if I snot rocket a marshmallow at you if you'd eat it. Okay, let us know. I'm assuming not, but I don't want to speak for you. You know how this works.
Now, if it was a Malteser, maybe that's
I bet
a different game.
Maltesers, man, they're like paintball bullets. If you fire them out, like, you know, at your mouth, like that, you could hurt somebody with one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But a snotty marshmallow, nah, I'm not sure about that. But just put that into context, man. 17 foot. That's a bloody fair way. Fair play to this Mr. Prado. That's a long old way.
I bet it's further than you could throw a marshmallow.
God, I'll tell you what, I never thought of it that way. That's really interesting. I reckon it must be. I
Because
suppose
they're not exactly made to be resistant to wind, are they?
Do you know what? I'm thinking there, you're right. You couldn't throw a marshmallow 17 foot. It'd be because the marshmallow's got the extra weight to get behind it with the boogers and the green, isn't it?
And it's been compacted as well, so it's more. It's got to not only fire out, but in midair swell to like the shape of a bullet, and then have a snotty payload at the back.
Oh God, no! I'm starting to feel drippy now.
Can you imagine? This isn't too bad, and then the marshmallow melts, and all you're left with is the phlegm, the mucus.
What? All right, okay. Let's talk some wrestling, Magsy, shall we? No, what have you got any yourself, mate? Have you got any yourself?
Right. So as I said earlier, I don't particularly think I'm forgetful. I forget silly things, I suppose. There was a point where I had to get a diary, a legitimate paper diary, to remember who I was recording podcasts with at the time, because I would ignore my my phone Google Calendar. But there was one such incident that happened on a podcast, and it actually got cut, and it's never heard the light of day, I don't think. But it involved you. You were a guest on Why We Watch, and I bet you still don't even remember. But when I did the intro, I called you Simon Preston because I'd forgotten your second name.
Yeah, amazing. That was that the first time we spoke, or did we do Badlands first? I can't remember.
No, we'd done Badlands because
Yeah.
Paul was there, and then but the way you just corrected me, you were like, "Oh yeah, cheers, mate. Thanks for inviting me on." It's Sarpal, by the way, not Preston. I'm like, for fuck's sake. But yeah, that's when I've been very forgetful.
And I've been aiming for those levels of professionalism ever since.
Brilliant.
Oh, there you go, mate. There you go. I've forgotten the obvious things, like left my keys in the house when I've gone out and all that.
Yeah,
sort of stuff,
I've done
but,
silly things like that. But
yeah, nothing I can think of that's particularly major. You know, I once forgot the Christmas presents. I used to go for a drink every Christmas Eve. I haven't done that for a few years now because obviously situations change, you get older and whatnot. But I've always done it. I'd do my Christmas shopping Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Not like necessarily the last bit. Yeah, my wife in the chat, you never take it. No, I don't. Excuse me. I had this bag of Christmas presents that I got. I used to go into town and get the last couple of bits. And it's just an excuse really to go to a couple of pubs and just take in the Christmas atmosphere. It was nice, you know. I got absolutely trolled one Christmas Eve, and I mean proper baniacs. I was a state. Left the pub and went home, completely smashed. Left the Christmas presents in the pub.
Wow.
Didn't even realise until maybe after being home for an hour or so. But I was very fortunate in that the person I was seeing at the time realised how drunk I was, saw I didn't have the bag, went back to the pub and actually got them, and they were in the boot of the car. Because I woke up panicking like shit about 2 hours later, like, oh my God, where is this? Checked my phone, I had a message saying I went back to double check that we got everything, and yeah, the presents are in the car.
And you were just like, whew.
Oh mate, that was bad. Because we're talking like 9-10 o'clock Christmas Eve now. You know, so you can't do much else.
Christmas would have been ruined.
Yes, exactly. And there was also an occasion that same ex-partner of mine, who I'm not going to name because it's irrelevant. She's part of my past, and she turned into an absolute freaking whore anyway. I went to
Jezebel.
I went to the pub with her one afternoon. Again, I'd already had a few out elsewhere. Went to the bar, pretty half cut. Got to about 4 or 5 o'clock maybe. I was pretty steaming by this point. Went to the bar, bumped into my mate Harry. And we know a few stories about me and Harry. Me and Harry had a quick whiskey together, got talking, carried on talking. At the time, I was smoker. We went for a cigarette. Both finished our drinks outside at the same time whilst we finished our cigarette. And he went, well, let's walk down such and such now because that place is open. So we went to the next pub. My girlfriend was still sat in the table in the first pub.
Brilliant.
Yeah. That was fun. I enjoyed that. Looking back now, it's really, really funny. So there we go. And Sharon in the chat there, yeah, Mags, you highlighted saying, it wasn't me. She's not that nice or forgiving. That's very true. She would not tolerate that kind of nonsense from me. And this is why I'm a much better person now than I was back then, because Sharon has, helped guide me.
I dare say she'd tolerate you wandering off from the pub because she'd just stay in the pub and get caught on her own.
She don't drink anymore.
In peace. No.
Yeah. Well, she enjoy her Pepsi Max,
A few hours of peace from him.
Exactly. So then, Magsy, shall we talk a little wrestling?
We certainly shall. I mean, I did want to talk about some facts that I know, but never mind.
Okay, we'll do that then. Let's do it.
No, you've ruined it now.
No, bollocks. No, come on. I want to hear these facts because I've got no facts to put forward.
I'll quick fire them. So, woolly mammoths, woolly mammoths from the dinosaurs and stuff.
Well, no, all of them. I've never,
They went extinct 1,000 years after the Egyptians had finished building the pyramids.
Why? I bet they were really warm, weren't they, in the desert with those big.
I don't know if they were in the desert, but they were certainly around at the time of the Egyptians. If you put your finger in your ear and wiggle it about, that's the sound of Pac-Man.
What? That's the sound of Pac-Man?
That's the sound of that. What. Yep, it's the sound of Pac-Man.
Okay, how does that work? I don't get that.
Then try it. Put your finger in your ear. Wobble it
No,
about.
what I mean is it sounds like Pac-Man, not the actual sounds they recorded for Pac-Man.
No, it sounds like Pac-Man.
Okay, right.
I don't think that's how they recorded it. So there are fewer atoms in the whole of the world than there are ways to shuffle a deck of cards.
Fewer atoms than ways to stuff.
And to double down on that, it is almost 100% possibility that we have never seen all of the ways a deck of cards can be shuffled, because it's the number of deck of cards is that the order that can be in is called 52 factorial, which is 52 times 51 times 50, blah blah blah, all the way through. Right. And it would take billions of years of shuffling to get to see every single way that a pack of 52 cards can line up.
Why? That's blown my mind, mate. Because you think the amount of times that in my life that I've played cards with my kids or with my mates or anything, it's never even entered my mind. That's insane.
Okay, and last one, Pluto, the planet or the former planet, never made a full orbit around the sun from the minute it was discovered to when it was finally declassified as a planet.
Which is fucking lazy, wasn't it?
It's just fucking so far away. Yeah.
Right. It takes so long to complete one whole orbit. Like, why? Okay. That's insane.
It's madness, isn't it? Anyway.
That cards one, just the multiple numbers, it's blown my mind. That's crazy.
52 factorial, it's called. Anyway.
Why?
Shall we talk some wrestling, sir?
Yeah.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Maxie, you won a poll.
I know. I think it's the first time in like 4 or 5.
Yeah. It's a long old time, mate. And I'm glad you won this week, because this, if anything, this seems like a choice that I would make because of Shawn Michaels. You know? But yeah, I mean, the match that won was the very first ever Survivor Series not very first ever Survivor Series. Listen to me talk bollocks. Look at that. I'm distracted by all the multiple ways you can deal a pack of cards.
I can see you tonight, Sarah, going, "Sir, have you been asleep yet?" No, I've been shuffling these bloody cards, and you know, it might be right because I've done 10 and I'm already knackered.
just a little tally chart on the wall. Every time I do one different, just a little line up here. It was the very first Elimination Chamber match, which was at Survivor Series 2002. First of all, Survivor Series 2002 is one of my favourite pay-per-views. I bloody love it. It's got an incredible theme tune by Saliva, which you're probably going to hear a little bit of at some point in the audio version, I expect.
It was always.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, by the band Saliva. Absolutely fantastic. And it's at Madison Square Garden, which is always a bit special. It's got a really cool entranceway. The crowd are wild for it. The roster is stacked. The matches are great. The card is stacked. It's just, I mean, Jim Ross on commentary is just on fire. The whole show, to me, Magsy, is just superb.
It's brilliant. You've got the kind of start of Shawn Michaels' arguably his best run. You've got a talent roster so packed with talent that it's disgusting, literally disgusting that this amount of amazing wrestlers were on this one card. And like I said, that entranceway to the ring with the split screen kind of doorway. Oh my God, so damn good. Yeah, this I'm always glad when I win, but I'm particularly glad that we got to revisit this.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. The talent roster they have at this stage, I don't think it's just a case of how deep the roster is or how much the talent they have, because obviously ECW's gone, WCW's gone, and it's been gone for just over a year now. So a lot of the guys who had no competes are thinking about coming in or have been in as well, and so on. Goldberg isn't far away from his first run. Scott Steiner debuts on this show.
Yeah.
So it's not, to me, I mean, those guys excluded, Goldberg and Steiner. I'm talking the guys on this show here. The likes of, well, the guys in the chamber, RVD, Michaels, Triple H, Jericho, Booker T, and Kane, especially, I suppose, Booker T. to me, this isn't just a roster deep in talent. This is a roster that is deep in talent, but that talent's effectively at the top of its game for a lot of the competitors, the likes of Benoit and Angle on the undercard and so on. A lot of these guys are really close to getting to their peak.
Yeah, that triple threat on the undercard, that was essentially the SmackDown 6. The 6 guys who were leading the way for SmackDown. It was just phenomenal. Look at this card, and it's ridiculously disgusting how much quality is on this card.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely amazing. The chamber itself, then, Magsy, is the Elimination Chamber a match that you're fond of as a stipulation in general? Like, we've had it for 20 years now, haven't we? In various different shapes and sizes. What are your thoughts initially on the chamber itself?
Yeah, when it was introduced, it was one of those gimmicks that blew you away. When you think you've seen all that you can see in wrestling and everything kind of comes full circle and returns, or you get kind of little tweaks, the chamber was just something that absolutely blows you away. Just the sheer size of it, the idea behind it of having 6 wrestlers, but 4 of them like segregated in these pods. It was amazing setup, and I still get excited for a chamber match now because of just the concept of it. It's a little bit overdone. We get multiple kind of iterations of it. It should really be a match that is brought out once in a while, but the original chamber matches were just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. And this chamber here, the very first one, it looks just incredibly brutal as a structure, doesn't it? All the chains and the everyone's aware, obviously, the ring, the floor goes out from level with the ring canvas to the cage, so there's no drop outside the ring like a normal cage would have. It's almost got that extra platform around where the pods are and so on. Nowadays, there's crash mats taped down there, similar to how the flooring is outside a ring in WWE anyway. But here, it's just like this metal grid, isn't it? It's just like this metal sort of, well, grid's the only way I can think of to describe it. It looks like so painful.
Yeah, and it actually was, because pretty much everyone who come into this match had some sort of injury going out of the match. Bleeding within the first few minutes. It was a brutal structure. And they obviously had to kind of change that for future iterations. But yeah, that's, I think, is what makes this match stand out so more, that these guys were going in pretty much to the unknown and essentially booking on the fly with just kind of a basic outline of how the match is going to go down, and they absolutely nail it to their own detriment with the bleeding and the injuries. But yeah, it's just such a brutal concept.
Yeah, and you mentioned bleeding early on there. I mean, effectively, the six competitors in this match I listed just a moment ago. It's it's Triple H and Rob Van Dam who start the contest. The other guys are all in the pods, and yeah, Triple H is bleeding within minutes, Magsy, isn't he?
Yeah, pretty much. And I think there's even a point where Rob Van Dam is slamming Triple H into the steel so hard that he breaks the door open. Yeah, it's just brutal. And having RVD in this match for the first one was a master stroke. I know he's one of the pretty much the earliest ones to go, but his ingenuity in wrestling was needed in this match for him to take that first kind of a 5-star frog splash off the top of the cage. It's just, this match is full of amazing spots that would end up being revisited in different shapes and forms throughout pretty much every chamber match that come along. But having RVD in the first one to set that kind of bar of what can be done in this kind of structure was perfect booking.
Yeah, see, I'll tell you what, that's a really, really good point, mate. I didn't even think of it that way. I just thought, he's in the main event picture, so that makes sense. But the way you've explained that, that's opened my eyes a little bit, because it does make such a difference. I never looked at it that way before.
Yeah, because there's a spot where Jericho ducks the crossbody from RVD, and RVD just grips the cage like a spider.
Yes.
And then ends up turning around and landing the crossbody anyway. At this point in WWE, I don't think there was a wrestler who could maybe be that dynamic. Not again, and this is a ridiculously talented roster, but RVD being in it, he was the benchmark for some of the spots that we get later on in the kind of last one of the chambers, the stuff like the Kofi Kingston stuff, the Daniel Bryan stuff. You needed RVD to set that bar for everyone to go, well, I'm going to top him this year, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And it made the chamber a must-see event for a long, long time. Yeah,
without a doubt. I mean, he's not exactly... I think we've said it before when we reviewed a match of his on here. He's effectively a heavyweight doing cruiserweight things, isn't he? I remember the first time I saw Rob Van Dam, he blew my mind. He was doing things I'd never, ever seen before in all the years I've been watching wrestling. And that comes to this match as well. This match was something I'd never seen before. Obviously, no one had it. It's the very first one. But it's not anything even close. I mean, you have War Games, a cage with a roof on the top, and people enter different sort of time segments and so on. And then obviously you have Hell in a Cell. But this is completely different. And it just blew my mind. I was so invested in this when I was watching. I was so invested in the WWE at this time as well. It's like one of my favorite periods of wrestling. Obviously, Sean is my guy. And this match is him winning the World Championship. So that was a huge thing for me as well. I was so invested in this match. It was just such a great time to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah, and it's just the little things about it that really kind of draw me in. The fact that all the competitors who are in the match, they're all there, involved in the cell structure, but you don't know who's coming in at what time. And that kind of stuff. It's just those little touches that make you really get invested in these chamber matches. And then the storylines going into it as well with Triple H on this kind of reign of terror, being essentially handed the belt from Bischoff a few months earlier. All the people who he beaten by hook and by crook, kind of all coming together and saying, we're getting you douchebag. And then having this structure where is no escape. It's just I could happily go back and watch it again now. It was that good.
Yeah, I feel the same. There's moments, I suppose, that looking back now with eyes in 2022, that maybe, I suppose, we've seen it, we see it all the time now. It's a regular thing or so on. But the first time seeing them here, again, it comes back to blowing my mind, because it's like literally the first time you're seeing these moments. Something as simple as RVD climbs on top of Chris Jericho's pod. And you're looking at him to complete a move. And I'm just looking at Van Dam and Triple H, who are the two in the ring. But all of a sudden, the guy who's in the pod, who in theory should be restricted and can't get involved in the match, reaches through the chain and the chain cage and grabs RVD and pulls him down into the pod, his leg in, and is interfere. And I remember watching this live. I didn't even think that was a possibility until it happened. And it's these it seems like such a simple thing, but it just added so much to the match.
Yeah, and there's the one, and I think it's the match with Goldberg in, where I think it's Triple H trying to keep the door of the cell shut. It's just those little nuances that you can add to these kind of matches. I mean, we get it in this match where the Perspex panels become part of the match, where people are thrown through the plexiglass. Yeah, it's just, you need a group of wrestlers who have a good man for the business to look at a structure and instead of going, Jesus, this is going to hurt, they look at it and go, what are the possibilities we can pull off in this match? And Jericho has always been very innovative. RVD, incredibly innovative. Shawn Michaels pretty much doesn't care about his body, so he'll throw himself off pretty much anything. Booker T, one of the hottest wrestlers at the time. Triple H, obviously, will go down as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. A big, massive red douchebag in Kane in the match as well, who didn't need to really be there. Yeah, it's just phenomenal.
I get the feeling you're trying to goad a response out of somebody there, but we'll skirt over
My name is Kane.
We eventually end up with Y2J in the ring. He's the first one to come out of the pod, isn't he? And the heels gang up on RVD for a little while. It's kind of similar to how you'd always see in the War Games matches.
Yeah, and just going back on Jericho, how cool was it to have him coming out to Saliva playing live? We've talked on the show before about how it's very hit and miss when a live band does your theme tune, but I think Saliva killed it with King of My World. I think they were live in Times Square, so the logistics of getting that sorted. But yeah, that was pretty cool as well.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was really good. I mean, that sort of early 2000s. I don't know how weird, like American kind of radio-friendly metal, I suppose. It's sort of the sort
like
of heavyish
new metal.
guitar.
Was it?
Yeah,
Like new
sort
metal.
of heavyish guitars, but the vocals always tend to be quite powerful and quite clean vocals as well. There's so many bands from that kind of era, but Saliva for me are always heavily linked in my mind with WWE for these moments. Always is the track that stands out a great deal. Then obviously playing people to the ring live like this as well.
Yeah,
Great stuff.
Did they do Superstar as well for WrestleMania 18? I think
Yes, I think so. Yeah, just really sort of synonymous with the WWF at this time, I guess.
The WWE's favorite band, Survivor.
Whilst this part of the match is going on, RVD does kind of take a little bit of control at one point and tries to do a 5-star frog splash from the top of the pod. But this is the first time we kind of notice an issue with the structure, I guess, in that the top of the pod and the top of the cage are actually a little bit close together.
It's curved. It's a curved roof, obviously. Now, I don't know whether the structure was designed and then RVD looked at what he could do, or whether he had any like kind of a influence in, oh well, I could do a move off that. I don't know, but the frog splash doesn't go too well, but it's the fact that he's able to think on his feet and come up with that, I think, is phenomenal. But he does essentially destroy the throat of Triple H.
Yeah, he ended up spending the night in hospital, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Triple H.
And fair play to Triple H for carrying on for the rest of the match, because that happens pretty early. And we're talking maybe 10 minutes into a half-hour match, and he's still able to muscle through it.
Yeah, he gets it out. I mean, you do see moments where I do wonder what this match would have been if that injury didn't happen. Because when you hear interviews with Triple H and so on, and other people who were involved in this time, they say how bad and serious this was. The guy couldn't breathe at one point, and they were thinking they might actually have to get him out of the chamber. That was a big issue as well. But he sort of said he wanted to continue. Every now and again, he would stand up, and you could see him mouth the words to his opponent, "Hit me." They'd punch him, and he'd go back down, and he'd sell the punch again for another couple of minutes. So he's trying to keep involved without doing too much whilst he tried to recover. And then obviously the final sequence, or final sequences, I guess, there's a great deal of time spent with him, Jericho, and Michaels at the end of the match where he is more involved. But you can still see struggling, Magsy, can't you? Sort of gasping a little bit. And
yeah, you've got to give Triple H props for the way he powered through this. That is a professional wrestler, perfectly embodied. The fact that he suffered a potentially life-threatening injury, but the show must still go on. What a star!
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely. Kane enters the field of play, I suppose.
I've entered the Elimination Chamber.
Dan Griffin there in the chat saying you'll be hearing from my solicitor, Mags. He bloody loves Kane, doesn't he? Eh? Bless him.
He does. And Kane's great in this.
Yeah.
He does amazing when he comes in. Just literally cleans house, which is what a monster like Kane should be doing.
100%. He sends Jericho through the bulletproof plexiglass, as it's explained to us by Eric Bischoff and Jim Ross on commentary, and it smashes and doesn't look very comfortable, does it? Let's be fair.
No, it looks like plastic rulers snapping, just in thick, pointy, painful shards.
Yes.
I mean, and we've brushed over the fact that RED actually gets eliminated.
Oh, and the fact that Booker T has come in.
Yeah, Booker T comes in post the frog splash. RED is selling a knee injury. Booker essentially hits the bookend. Then he eliminates him with a missile dropkick, if I remember right.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So that to me felt like maybe RED was really injured and they needed to get him out, or Booker was like, if he gets up, he's probably going to kill you. So let's get you out of this match before Triple H does a murder.
There were a few times in WCW where his top rope drop kick was like, it was like one of the, it wasn't his finisher, but it was a move that he won matches with, I suppose, like the sort of secondary sort of, if that makes sense.
A signature.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, yeah. Kane is next to go with, he basically takes, I don't know, 87 finishing moves here, doesn't he?
And that's a cool sequence as well, because he's attempted to go for a tombstone on Triple H. Well, that's countered. He's pushed into the sweet chin music. Eats that like a champ. Gets a pedigree. Lion Salt. Boom. Great play by Kane. Even for a big red clown that he is. And to give him props as well, his theme music is banging in this.
Yeah.
Is it Slow Chemical, I think it's called?
That's right.
That's probably my favourite Kane theme music. It's so damn good. Yeah,
and it's a similar sort of thing, isn't it? That sort of heavy guitar riff with the sort of clean but powerful vocals over the top. Similar sort of sound that we were discussing. But I screwed up there, to be fair. I said Kane. I actually meant to say Booker T. Booker T was the next one out. But he had something similar. He was allowed to basically look strong by taking 3 or 4 finishers, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think he gets the choke slam and the Lion Salt. And Jericho, quite slyly, is becoming... I mean, they're all MVPs in this match. And I don't think it's fair to say one person is the most outstanding, because every one of them played the part. And for as much grief as I'm giving Dan for his Kane love, these were the perfect set of players to have in the first Elimination Chamber. A great mix of styles and all huge names, and they all played their roles to perfection. So I don't think it's fair to say that one person is better than the other, but on the quiet, Jericho puts in a performance of a lifetime in this, I think.
Yeah, totally. And I also think Jericho is the one. I know nothing about how this sort of thing works, so I could be way off, completely wrong here. But watching it back today, I was purposely looking for what happens after Triple H gets injured, because I'm thinking would this match have been if Triple H... Don't get me wrong, it's fantastic. I love this match. It's one of my favorite matches of all time. I adore this contest. But how much better would it have been if Triple H hadn't had to sort of take a back seat at certain moments? Okay. And it's Jericho. If you watch it back with that in mind, rather than just watching the match and enjoying it, if you really concentrate on what's going on and look at Jericho in specifically, it's Jericho that kind of takes charge of these certain moments where
he leads the dance. He does.
Yeah, where Triple H almost effectively says, "Okay, hit me," and then he lies down and he takes a punch and purposely rolls out the ring to stay out the way. It's Jericho that kind of stops for literally like half a second, has a look around, turns around, goes to Kane and starts doing something, goes to Booker. It's Jericho that, like you said, Maxie, leads the dance. He sort of puts together this match, I'm guessing a little bit on the fly, because I'm assuming Triple H should have been more involved. Again, it's all assumption. I don't know for facts, but I'm assuming so.
And a way you can kind of rubber stamp that is when we're down to the final 3, and it's Jericho who is essentially telling Triple H, we're going to take out Shawn Michaels, and he has him tangled in the ropes, and he's essentially punching Shawn Michaels clean in the face and saying, "Bleed, you son of a bitch, bleed." So yeah, I do believe that they maybe called it on the fly, and Jericho took up that slack that maybe Triple H was going to be the person that kind of led this match. Which again is props to Jericho, and is thinking on his feet and reacting to to Triple H being essentially out of commission.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, by this stage, you mentioned Shawn Michaels there. Shawn comes in as the last entrant, gets a great reaction from the fans. He's so over here. I mean, I'm buzzing when I'm watching this back, sat in my house in Gloucester. I can't imagine what it must have been like in Madison Square Garden cheering this guy on. Sadly, his hair and his ring gear isn't quite up to par.
The Karen Bob is
mate.
That's janky, and the shit brown pants are not the best. But this is 2002 Shawn Michaels. This is Michaels who was this maybe his second, third match back.
Yeah. And he didn't know until he didn't know until on the day, hours before the pay-per-view started, that he was going to win.
Yeah, so having that pressure on you then going into this match, knowing that you still got ring rust, you still don't know how your body's going to handle being in a match like this, and then being told, oh yeah, by the way, Shawn, you're winning the belt. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure on him. And
it's kind of the way. Sorry, go on. He nails it.
I'm just saying, he absolutely nails it.
Yeah. The way apparently, again, I don't know where I've seen this, whether it was in a book or a documentary or whatever, but apparently he came back at SummerSlam for a one-off. That was the way it was worded. Survivor Series, he was told, come back for another one-off. That's the way it's going to be, a one-off. Madison Square Garden and so on. When he got to the building, Vince was like, let's put the belt on Shawn. And Shawn's was like, well, apparently it's a one-off. And he's like, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out down the road. And he held the title for a month or so. And then Shawn just never really went away again, which is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But that's what you have to do with Shawn Michaels sometimes. You've got to get him in the door. I mean, the whole thing of him returning to NXT as a coach and as part of the booking team, that was a one-off that Triple H said, can you come down and have a look at these kids and give them some pointers? And he ended up sticking around. That's how you coax Shawn Michaels back into the business.
Just get him to dip his toe in, and before you know it, you can push him in and he's soaking wet.
Exactly.
I suppose we better sort of head forth a little bit, Magsy, and get to the actual finish of the match. I mean, Shawn Michaels is sent through the pod plexiglass as well. That didn't look very comfortable. We had a few backdrops and slams on the metalwork on the outside, counters to pedigrees and so on, which didn't look very comfortable at all. But the finish, I think, is done brilliantly.
Mm-hmm. It absolutely is. It's so good. I mean, the amount of missed finishes, the kind of brutality the guys have been through, where they're all absolutely KO'd in the middle of the ring. The kip up from Shawn Michaels, it just sends you absolutely tingling. It's just so damn good. Then we have I think it's Triple H who's in the Walls of Jericho. It's Triple H in the Walls of Jericho. Shawn Michaels cracks him with the sweet chin music, collapses on him for Jericho to be eliminated. That's a brilliant moment.
That's
then
fantastic.
We get
so cool.
Then we get what this match was designed for, to finally get Shawn Michaels and Triple H against each other, and what a performance they both put on. And then, I mean, definitely go back and go and watch this match. It's honestly mind blowing. But Shawn Michaels hitting the elbow off the top of the chamber. What a moment!
Yeah.
I mean, it's not his best elbow at all. He does land feet first, but the fact he did it, coming off a near 8 years being out injured with a back, to drop that it's phenomenal.
It's so good. I was so invested. This got me. Obviously, when this aired, I was 20 odd. I knew how wrestling worked. But I was so excited to see my childhood hero back, the guy I worshipped as a kid, Shawn Michaels, back. This got me. It completely made me forget about how wrestling worked, and I was invested. And when Triple H, who was famous for, I suppose at the time, politicking his way in, winning and all, no matter how much it made sense for other guys to beat him, when Triple H hit that pedigree and Shawn was on the mat and Triple H covered him, and we got the 1, 2, and then like at 2.9, the near death Shawn Michaels, it looked like, threw a shoulder up. I reacted because I thought that was it. I thought it was over.
Yep, you think, lol, Triple H wins.
Yeah, exactly.
But then
Exactly, that got me.
He didn't get that pin. Goes for another pedigree, gets backdropped. Shawn Michaels cracks that sweet music and kind of in a repeat of the Jericho elimination, just collapses on top of Triple H. We get that win. Jim Ross, his throat must have been hoarse after this. He just is so passionate about it, and he's like, what did I tell you in the WWE? Do you believe in miracles? And then you see the confetti pop. Shawn Michaels with that title. I mean, that must have been, you must have been stiff as a board. Your favorite title, and your favorite wrestler together in one. Jesus Christ.
I said it got me, right? I'm not kidding. When the 3 count was counted, I jumped up off my sofa at whatever time it would have been, 4 or 5 in the morning, and was yelling. I was so invested in this match. And to me, that's absolute testament to the emotion that, first of all, as a fan, I feel about Shawn Michaels, obviously. Mm-hmm. But secondly, how you mentioned how the thing was booked and how each guy was perfect and played their role perfectly. And Magsy, to keep using the word perfect, you explained that perfectly because each guy was brilliant in the role they performed, and Shawn winning was perfectly done, and it got me hands down. I loved it.
And especially coming off the weekend we've had. I mean, I know that Benny mentioned way earlier in the chat about what are our thoughts on this weekend's Royal Rumble. That was, I wasn't disappointed with the Rumble. It was just very safe booking in terms of the winners. This wasn't safe. This was not safe at all. Shawn Michaels was very short into a comeback that could have easily have ended way before it started. To have him win, Triple H was injured early on and still ended up becoming like the Iron Man of the show. RVD was a lunatic with all the innovative moves he pulled off. This could have gone tits up very, very easily.
Yeah.
And WWE didn't play it safe. They gave everything. These wrestlers gave everything. And I think we are spoiled that we are in the generation where we got this match.
Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%. Okay, I mean, I've got one eye on the clock because obviously we have the volley coming up tonight, live at 10:55. That's good, that, isn't it? Live at 10:55. You can have that if you want, boys, okay? All right. I mean, if in future weeks, if you decide to change it to 11:05, it still works. Live at 11:05. Look at that. You can have that, boys. Okay, it's good. Magsy, out of 10, what are you thinking?
I don't think it's perfect, and I think we've had better chamber matches over the years, but just for the sheer spectacle, the fact it was the first, the fact that everyone in that ring was a goddamn superstar, they all played their parts perfectly, but changed it up on the fly when needed be. It's high. It's got to be a 9. It's got to be a 9 for me.
Oh, interesting. See, when we started this conversation, had 9 written down here. But as we've spoken about it, and you've pointed things out that maybe I missed, or I have then explained things and fired myself up. Okay, bell to bell is what we judge this on. And it's not perfect, as you said. It's not perfect. There are mistakes, there are errors. Somebody does get hurt, and so on. However, I've got to look back to that day, sat on my ex-girlfriend's sofa on my own because everyone's in bed. And the emotion it got me, and jumping off the sofa and cheering like I was 11 years old again. The performances by the Jericho was incredible. Just the performances by all these guys, the chamber itself. Again, you've got to look at it from bell to bell, but it's difficult for me to cut out the emotion. And what these guys did in the ring from bell to bell, it effectively gave me that emotion. The build-up and the storylines only go so far. Mm-hmm. So I cannot believe I'm doing this. I've talked myself out of my score as we're doing this show. And I think literally from an emotional standpoint, rather than the cold, calculated individual I normally am, I'm going to have to pull the trigger, mate, for the 3rd week in a row.
Now you get ridiculous.
This is a 10 for me. I love it so much.
You're making 10s seem pointless. You never give a 10, then all of a sudden 3 come along at once.
We've effectively been on a tour in the last month of matches that make up my list of my favorite matches. So, and again, this one is more from an emotional standpoint than anything else. But my God, I love it so much.
Okay.
You know, I love it so much. And it's
a great match. It really is. And I implore, I mean, we say this every week, but definitely go and check this match out because it's outstanding.
Yeah, exactly. We need to, some weeks, Magsy, some week in the near future, decide that we're both going to pick a weaker option and look at the something dodgy and something crap just to balance ourselves out, I think.
Yep, we do. But next week will not be that week for me. So I'll go into my pick.
Go on then. Where are we going?
The link is Survivor Series.
Okay.
Survivor Series is, for me, it's up there as one of the better pay-per-views of the year. Maybe not so much recently because they've kind of come away of the point of what a Survivor Series was meant to be. But I do like Survivor Series. So I was looking at what are classed as the best Survivor Series matches, but I wanted a traditional Survivor Series match, a traditional elimination team-on-team match.
Yeah.
So according to cagematch.com, the most highly rated traditional Survivor Series elimination match actually happened the year before this. Survivor Series 2001.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm going back for Team WWF to take on Team Alliance in the winner takes all 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match. So Team WWF is The Rock, Jericho, Taker, Kane, and Big Show. And Team Alliance is Stone Cold, Kurt Angle, RVD, Booker T, and the sweaty one himself, Mr. Shane McMahon.
What a match that is. That is so good. And again, it falls into that time period where I was just so heavily invested. That's up there in my list of like matches that I adore.
So it'll be the fourth 10.
I don't know, mate. I haven't rewatched it in a long time. And I think that the emotion of Shawn Michaels winning here got me carried away. Shawn Michaels isn't in this match, so maybe I'll be a bit more subjective. Do you know what I mean?
That's if we get to watch it, though.
Yeah, that's very true.
We may not get to watch it.
I think we will, because as I said last week, I think your selection is probably going to dick on mine, to be fair. I'm going to put forward Triple H as the link. And I think you might have touched upon it when you put your link in previously last week for this one. I may have misheard or whatever, but effectively, I want to go back to something that I absolutely adored, an episode of Monday Night Raw that I watched, and I've watched back several times. I've written an article on it and so on, because I just love this. And to me, the article I wrote is basically the greatest short story in wrestling is the title that we gave it, because it's a story that's told from the beginning of Raw to the main event of Raw. And that's the May 19th, 2003 episode of Monday Night Raw, where Triple H is told by GM Stone Cold Steve Austin he has to defend the world title that night, but he has to pick an ex-world champion to defend it against.
Mm-hmm.
So he lists off Kane and Jericho and Michaels and so on. Triple H, thinking he's found a loophole, says, I'll defend it against an ex-world champion because I'm allowed to choose. I'll defend it against the Nature Boy Ric Flair, who was just a manager at the time and part of Evolution. During the episode, because obviously Triple H is expecting Flair to lie down for him, during the episode, we see people firing Flair up. Flair decides, sod it, I'm going to give it a go. And I'll tell you what, I watched that match back after watching that whole episode of Raw. I believed at one stage Flair was going to win the World Championship.
Yep.
It's a fantastic standalone episode. It's a standalone episode of Monday Night Raw. It's superb. And I'd like to go back and review that episode, but obviously out of 10, we rate the match. So I think it's going to be quite interesting to see the sort of dynamic between storyline and actual in-ring content.
Yeah, that's a great shout. That is I haven't watched that back in a long time, but I remember it. I remember it vividly, that Flair puts on an amazing performance.
Yeah, for someone who's not been in the ring for so long as well, and it's absolutely brilliant. So those are your options on the poll, which will be up on Twitter with links everywhere else, sending you to the poll on Twitter. Sort of
Sometime late
midweek-ish.
Saturday-ish.
Message me Thursday if I've forgotten, Max. Your options are the incredible Alliance versus WWF, I suppose, end of the invasion storyline from Survivor Series 2001. 5-on-5 elimination. It's a good length match with some incredible stars in there. Survivor Series 2001 main event, Team Alliance versus Team WWF. Or we will look at Triple H versus Ric Flair with the whole storyline in one episode of Raw that is just insane. The May 19th, 2003 episode of Raw is your other option there. That we can be found to vote on @chain_wrestling on Twitter. The poll will always be on Twitter. However, you can find links to that poll via our other social medias, but they will just take you onto Twitter, so you'll probably still need a Twitter account. Magsy, tell everyone whereabouts they can find you.
Well, firstly, you'll be able to find me in less than 5 minutes on this very channel talking about another sport, the sport of football and transfer deadline day. But otherwise, you can follow me down here on the Twitters @PodfatherMags, where I'm involved in way too much content for any one human being. But definitely go and check out some of the stuff that I'm involved in.
Yes, stay here for the volley live at 10:55, covering the transfer window. We have got roughly 9 minutes left before the transfer window in England shuts. Lots of stuff going on. Make sure you join in with Matt, Magsy, and the rest of the boys there. See who has signed who has left where, and so on. Keep up to date with all of that. You can find me on Twitter @SJPWords, where you can find links stemming off that to all the shows I'm involved in. The first episode of the Doctor Who pod coming out tomorrow. Nitro Nights every Thursday now. And other things in the works as well. Waiting Room Season 2 coming very soon with Benny and so on. Check it all out. Let us know what you think. And as always, make sure you're following us, most importantly, @chain_wrestling on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, that TikTok thingamy. Magsy, I'm going to go now and watch back my DVD of the greatest Shawn Michaels matches ever. Obviously on mute, because I'm going to be sitting there listening to the volley live at 10:55. I'll see you next week, my friend.
Bye-bye.